BDSM and non-standard relationships,
power exchange and polyamory,
sacred sexuality and fetishes, as well as simply fun kink.
You're listening to the Erotic Awakening Podcast Network.
My listeners, to another installment of the Femme Domme Mystique podcast, the podcast that centers on female dominance and male and female submission. This is your hostess, Mistress Simone, coming to you from Domcon, LA, where I'm having a fabulous time with all my lady friends, and I'm getting the chance to talk to some wonderful mistresses and leather women this weekend. Today, I am sitting here with one of my favorite ladies, Goddess Sadie Hawkins. Talk about a wonderful, vibrant woman. She's one of my favorites. She is a professional and lifestyle dominatrix and leather woman. So she shares my love for the leather community, and her path is very similar to mine. But if you would welcome Goddess Sadie Hawkins. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Wow, what an introduction.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. If you wouldn't mind giving my listeners just a small history of your journey.
Sure. Well, I consider myself a leather woman, so I'm sure your listeners are familiar with what that means. So this is my life and my lifestyle 24/7. I've been a professional domina for 13 years now, and in the lifestyle for almost 15. I was introduced to it in Atlanta with my Onyx family. I went out to the local bar and ran into some very handsome men that do a lot of kinky things, Onyx, and I'm Onyx Pearl, so that's where my passion is, and I've been focusing on education after the past decade of being a professional, and so
you're taking the foray into the education pool.
Yes, because I think it's very much so needed.
Crazy woman. Having been there for 20 years, I pity your pain. But I love education. It's been my passion. It's one thing I give back to the community, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So welcome aboard. We're glad to have such a vibrant personality joining our ranks.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Would you mind clarifying a little bit for my listeners what they may not know what Onyx is?
Okay, so I'm a woman of color from Caribbean descent. And a lot of people in black culture and the diaspora tend to think that black people aren't kinky. So sometimes, depending on what city you're in, you move throughout the city and you don't necessarily see another person of color. And so therefore, we're underrepresented and people don't think that we exist and that we play. So Onyx has been around for 20 years. It's a leather fraternal order. So there's old school protocol as far as initiation, knowledge, things that you have to learn to do a pledging process. So there's a pledging process. So Onyx is the men. That's our fraternity, and then I'm Onyx Pearl. I'm actually the director of marketing for 2016.
Daunting task.
Daunting
Wonderful.
task. Yes. And so Pearl Southeast, which is the Atlanta region, which is where I started. Pearls is our sorority chapter, so it's the sister version of Onyx.
Okay.
So when you're out and you don't see anybody that looks like you can see a Onyx vest from across the room, and
right.
We party, we welcome everyone. It's not just a POC thing, it's not a gay thing, it's a leather thing, and it's a leather protocol thing. So that's one thing that I appreciate about it because I'm very protocol driven, and it holds you accountable not just to yourself but to your organization and your community.
How long has Onyx Pearl been a part of Onyx?
That's a good question. One of my mentors, Lady D, started Onyx Pearls.
Lady.
Yes. Out of that, I would say maybe 10 years. So we were kind of defunct for a while, and there's a few different chapters. And just a few months ago at LLC, Leather Leadership Conference, that's where we had our 17 pledges cross and finish.
I saw the picture, and it was a beautiful picture.
Yes, yes.
I'm very glad that Onyx has opened it up to women of color and has onyx pearl. Can you tell me a little bit about your leather journey, not professionally?
Sure. Wow. Well, I started off just kinky when I didn't even know what kinky was, when I did things like cuckold my husband for cheating or kick boys in the balls on the playground. Like, I had no idea what that was.
I did the same thing at age 5. It's very interesting. I had a little boy take me around the playground on the back of his tricycle, and my mom's like, oh my God.
Same deal. Start young. So it's hard for me to have a defining point. But as far as with leather, it was really when when Onyx became visible to me. Because even though I wasn't Onyx, I was just another chocolate face in a sea at
and vanilla ice cream.
And vanilla ice cream in an environment that I really was just there for the kink.
You just wanted to get your kink on.
I wanted to get my kink on. I wanted to get my perv on, and I would just watch these men. And I, of course, being the bossy dom that I am, I went to introduce myself. And since then, they welcome me with open arms.
They do.
and it's an educational piece that's more like a peer-to-peer. It's not very hierarchical as far as like, oh, I've been doing this longer, so you must listen to me. But it's very hands-on. What do you want? What do you need? How can we support you as part of your community?
Now, what prompted you to take your kink and your leather into the professional realm?
Interesting. I dated someone in my vanilla world, quote unquote, and we had a pretty kinky sex life. And the relationship went south for a while, and I moved on, as I do, and he came groveling back, as most of them do sometimes. And he put the bug in my ear that maybe I should think about doing this professionally. And I had never heard of a professional. I didn't know that I could make money at it. And I kind of backed off the idea. He was pretty aggressive. He offered to support me financially for a while, and had an arrangement. Mm-hmm. And I come from an office corporate background for a little bit, so I have a paper fetish, so I drew up terms and conditions
I
about
love that, a paper fetish.
when the money would be due and what it would be for and how much time I would spend, and that we were not girlfriend and boyfriend anymore.
That's awesome.
And so I gave it a hand at that, and then I would say maybe within the 6 months, Domcon Atlanta was the very first one, and I heard about this conference, and I was like, I better get my shit together. I need a website, and I need to get by, look the part if I'm going to be hanging out with other ladies who do this. So I was a little bit shy and timid, so I prefer to support my community and work behind the scenes. So the first year I volunteered for the entire weekend, yes. And I fell in love with it ever since, and I try to do Domcon every year.
Domcon is one of my favorite events. It's a great experience for meeting fellow women and empowering each other and networking. So, even if there's tons of us in one area, so we all don't get, sessions and it's not all crazy, to me it's worth it to come because I get to spend time with you.
Yes.
Spend time with my beautiful ladies.
Yes.
So that's what I like. I am a high protocol dom. Anyone who serves me knows that. What does that mean to you?
I consider myself high protocol. I didn't think that I was high protocol until I have, people looking and watching me in public and coming out to me and asking, when that for me is pretty much maybe my low protocol. So for me, high protocol is there's rules and regulations for everything. And there's ways that you need to be seating. There's ways that you need to address me. There's how you need to stand, when you need to present something to me, when you can speak, when you cannot speak. Mm-hmm.
Stop, you're turning me on.
What is appropriate in certain circumstances, what's not appropriate in certain circumstances. And like I said, I have a paper fetish, and I'm big into contracts. So once you come and see me and you want to take it serious, you're going to get paperwork.
So tell my listeners what a sample contract of yours may include, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't use contracts anymore. They were very popular in the early 2000s and like late 90s. It was very big for contracts, but we've kind of steered away from that within some of the subsets. So
I guess that's telling my age that I've been around since
that's telling your age,
the early 90s and the 2000s.
Okay.
So
what does a sample contract include for someone who's never experienced a contract? They may not know what it is listening to the podcast.
Okay. Well, for me, there's the professional aspect where you just come see me for a session. Our fetishes are similar, therefore we play. Tribute is involved a certain amount of time. Go separate words. If you want to serve me on outside of those realms, there will always be a contract into place. And for me, every contract is different depending on the relationship. If I have a sissy in my life, our contract might consist of behavior. How will they behave? What will I expect from them? What will they expect from me? If I have what other contract? I have one for a foot slave, a foot contract. And that person is, typically responsible for my pedicures on the 1st and the 15th of the month. These are I want 5 bottles of polish, this color, this color, this color. This will be purchased on the 5th of the month.
You are so OCD more than me.
And 2,
I love that.
And for me, the beautiful thing.
I didn't think I'd meet anybody like that.
Yes, honey. Well, contracts, for me, it takes out the personal responsibility. For me, I feel like as a dominant, as a professional domina, as a woman a female who leads relationships, I feel like part of that power exchange is knowing what's expected of you.
Agreed.
So a contract makes it very clear about what's expected of you. And so that takes the emotional connection out of it. I'm not telling you to put your lipstick on today because it's worn off. I'm telling you that because it's part of your contract. If part of your contract is a feminization clause, then my responsibility to you as my collared sissy is to assist you with that level of feminization at all times.
Correct.
So therefore it takes the responsibility off of me. So you don't need to get mad at me when I've told you 5 times and now you're being caned because I told you 5 times today about your lipstick.
Right.
It takes the responsibility off. So then all I need to tell you is you're not adhering to your contract. And after there's so many infractions, now there's penalties for you not adhering to your contract. And for me, that's a style of domination that I feel like isn't around anymore.
No, it's not. There's very few of us.
Right, but that's.
But that's okay. I mean, things. It's something different for everyone.
Exactly.
And this is a malleable kind of community in some ways. So it does change with the times. Some fetishes are in now that weren't in 5 years ago. So things do change, and it's fluid. How do you, if someone does have an infraction, what is a possible penalty for someone who's never had a contract before? What would some things be?
Well, with my contracts, I always like to negotiate. So I negotiate with that person. What are they open for? So their infraction could be a mouth soaping. It could be a caning. It could be a birching. It could be a whipping. It could be chastity period extended. It could be orgasm control. It can also have a financial penalty clause. Okay. Depending on how the relationship. So. And when that penalty will be, and certain levels. So a lot of my contracts I have, I'm big into corporal punishment. And
I couldn't tell from the 3 things you just named. Not at all.
So with that, I think with the corporal, with having that, I try to reserve one piece of equipment that will be what they're punished for. If I know that this ex-submissive loves my barehanded spanking, that's not going to be the punishment. You're not going to get that. But hates my Lexan cane, I will get a stock of that, or they will get the stock of that, and that will be their punishment tool. And so when the Lexan cane comes out, that's what this is not fun playtime.
Right.
You're being disciplined.
Correct. Now, I give a lecture on punishment. Yeah, so punishment protocols is a very big fetish of mine.
Mine too.
Because, look at that. I love it. Because I find that sometimes punishment can be misused in our community. So when you administer a punishment, what are some of the guidelines that you use? I know mine, but what are some of the guidelines you use for containing the punishment in its right context?
I do a 3 strikes rule. Mm-hmm. If I have to reprimand you for the same infraction 2 times, 3rd strike, you're out. Mm-hmm. There's a punishment. And ironically, I have an adult son now, so he's been having revolutions. Now he's found me on the internet. So I punish people how he was punished, which is very interesting. But I usually, there's some dialogue. So I will say, you're being punished today because I've had to correct you 5 times on your lipstick.
Mm-hmm. So you make it very clear why they are being corrected and what it's for.
What it's for. And then I give them permission to speak.
Okay.
Express themselves. They could have switched a new lipstick brand and it's just not really working, it's not staying, or...
So you ask for an explanation if there is something that could be leading to the behavior instead of just blanket punishment.
Exactly.
Sometimes I find too many people do in our community is that they just blanket punishment the minute a submissive has, an infraction instead of finding out, well, maybe there's a reason for that infraction.
Exactly. So once that, I like to have their input, let them know what they're being punished for. And then depending on how serious that infraction is, say, cane strikes, if something's really serious, you might get just 10 of the best. If it's like, oh, you haven't put lipstick on, 10 of the best. But if it's something like you didn't use a specific honorific when I introduced another Femme Domme, and you got your honorifics wrong, and that's a serious infraction to me, then you're getting 100 cane strikes.
Good. So you kind of modulate it to what the infraction was and how serious it is. Because some are less serious.
Yes.
I would consider the lipstick wearing off probably a lesser one than the honorific. I mean, especially if you're going to insult one of my lady friends. I would just not be cool.
Right.
One of the things that I like to do with punishment is I like to make sure that it's administered within a timely frame. I've seen too many doms where the infraction happens and then a month later there's no punishment. And the submissive is just waiting on pins and needles for that punishment to come. So I like to.
Me too. Timely. 72 hours.
Yes.
You have 72 hours.
Right. I'd like to go back to an earlier topic that we kind of touched on, and that's you being a woman of color.
Yes.
Would you care to expound on maybe some challenges that you have come across?
Wow.
I know we only have so much time.
Yes. I'll keep it really, really brief. So, interesting enough, I find that in this industry, I'm a fetish within a fetish. So
interesting. Would you explain that to me, please?
I'm a fetish because I'm a woman of color. So most people that see me come to see me not because of, and I don't want to say not because of my skill set, but their main interest is, I've never served a black mistress before.
Really?
So me being a Caribbean mistress is fetishizing that.
Okay, I can see that. How does that? I'm going to add a question onto a question. How does that make you feel? Do you just want to go fuck off, or do you want to go, okay, you're proud and you know what you want?
Interested enough, I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues, Domina in Cincinnati, and
I love that. I love her.
We are objectified. Bottom line, as Femme Dommes, we are an object. We're on this pedestal of godliness, so we are an object. So it's no different. It's just,
I agree. That's a great way to put it. It's just kind of a specific objectification.
Yes.
Instead of a generalized Femme Domme. Okay, now go back to your...
And then I'm a curvy woman of color, so that's another little fetish. And then I'm a natural curvy ebony lady. So it's like a niche market within a niche market with a niche market. So I think in my earlier days, yes, I would see, you want to do that? That's a lot of fun. Sure, I'll see you. No, I'm very specific. If you're not interested in my personal fetishes, I'm not going to see it.
That's a very good way to control it. That's a very... Let's expand my question. And besides professionally, within the lifestyle community as a woman of color? Have there been any challenges? Have there been any difficulties?
I think I'm very blessed in that way. I like I said, my journey started in Atlanta, which has a large POC leather kink fetish community. So lifestyle wise, I don't think I've had any issues. It's all been professional, unfortunately.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I want to bring up a topic that may be a little bit taboo.
Oh, I love taboo topics.
Awesome.
Bring it. Yes,
okay,
yes,
race
yes.
play.
Okay, wow.
What is your, I know Melina's take on race play, and I've listened to her talk about race play. What is your take on race play?
How much time do we have?
We've got plenty. You can talk all you want.
So I'll
you don't have
simplify
to shorten it. You can talk
I'll
as long
simplify
as
because I teach a class on race play, but I won't get into all that. So for me...
It's okay, get into it. It's a topic that...
my race play is very interesting because there's race play that we're doing this for fun, and I should preface this too with I'm an ordained minister, and my spiritual practice is priority in my life. So with that, for me, race play is ties into my spiritual practice. So most of the time, I get race play in. I want to be dominated by a black woman, and for whatever reason, and I'll give a prime example, and I'll make the story really short. For me, race play is a cathartic experience because it touches things that maybe society has put on you that made you feel bad. I had a personal sissy maid at one point, and came to me pretty high protocol, all his own uniforms, name embroidered from the jump. Perfect.
Nice.
And for me, outside of having a relationship, I like to get to know you, your journey. Where did you come from? Why is this? And he shared with me that he came from a very affluent family in New Jersey. And growing up, they had all black housemaids, servants, nannies, car wash, yard maintenance, everything. And they always wore uniform. But they always took care of him. They fed him. They kept his house clean. They tucked him to bed. Everything. They took him to his games. Everything. The staff raised him more than his parents. So he had this guilt thing that came from out of nowhere. So for him, it was a cathartic and a very therapeutic experience for him to serve me as a race thing, serving this black woman with all her black dumb friends and, racial slurs and all those things. All consensual, of course.
Of course.
Because he made a promise, and he was Jewish, I can say that. He kind of had this thing that he felt like while he was here on earth, he would have to repay the black race in some sort of way for them taking care of him his entire life.
Interesting.
Of being of service.
Right.
So now as an adult, he wants to be in service to black females, for black females.
Interesting.
Doing their job, getting paid to do their job.
Right.
But from a karmic level, that it was something that fed his spirit. So for me, that's where my race play comes. Okay. People who contact me, I just don't engage in it just free willy-nilly. You have to be very comfortable with yourself, and so I'm not going to trigger something because I do degradation and humiliation. And so for me, too, to tie back into my spiritual practice, there's something that happens, and a lot of my race play, I do whippings and flagellations.
Interesting.
There's something that happens on a cathartic level that shifts for both people. Okay. That feels very... feels very light. It feels like a weight has been lifted when you're finished with all of that. So, and I'll take for an example, I saw a police officer one time. I was in North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't see police officers all the time, but I do see law enforcement officers for whatever.
So do I.
They're very upfront with
kinky.
that. They're kinky, right?
And they need an outlet as well.
Exactly.
And we're safe.
Right. And this particular person was a state trooper and racial profiled black men all day, every day.
Ooh.
And he was part of the Good Old Boy Network. That was what expected of him. He was, had all his honorifics with his job. So he would come to me for extreme degradation, face slapping, spitting, name calling, verbal humiliation, because it made him feel better.
I can see that.
At the end of the day.
It created a balance for him.
It created a balance.
Something that karmically and spiritually he probably needed after spending all that day doing racial profiling.
Exactly.
So it sounds to me like your race play is something that is a positive, cathartic thing that you experience with the people that come see you for that.
Only. It's only going to be positive.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's a wonderful way to express something that sometimes gets a bad rap in our community.
Yes.
Like rape play and age play and race play. Those are the things that everyone's like, wow. So I want to go change the subject a little bit, and I want to go back to your leather.
Of course.
You mentioned that you've started educating.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that people can expect to see you educate on, and what motivated you to start educating?
Oh,
I was just thrown into it and said, here, talk.
I was thrown into it. My Onyx brothers came to me one year and was like,
You're gonna talk.
Sadie, we need more women on our panel. We're doing a panel on BDSM 101. Need you to talk about all the kinky things you do, including nipple play, bondage, cross-dressing, CBT. I'm like, okay. And it was my leather family, so of course I stepped up and I said yes.
Exactly.
And it started with there. And then as the whole 50 Shades of Bullshit has evolved and everything, I find that people aren't educated. And it frightens me when I have clients that either use someone as a reference that's not a professional domina or someone that put some pictures together and they're a professional domina and they don't have any education, and that is scary.
It's very scary.
It's scary and it's unsafe. And you know, my clients that come to me have a life. They can't be leather 24/7 like me. They live for those few hours they can escape theirs to do mine. And they expect me to be responsible and professional in keeping them safe, keeping them, no staph infections, not killing them, all of that. And I just find that these new young doms, no offense, they do some really scary things.
No offense, but I agree with you on that one.
And there's just been some horror stories, and I feel like, my mentor told me, each one teach one. What's going to be my legacy when I leave here?
That's a great way to put it.
Do people be like, oh, I know how to do my corset because Sadie taught me how, on my hands and knees, like however way it is. I want my legacy to be that you've learned something. I'm not going to, I don't know everything.
I don't. After 22 years, I don't.
And I'm learning every day, and I like to, and that's how I was taught. So I feel like it's kind of my duty as a leather woman to give back to the community.
So you're giving it back and paying it forward.
Yes.
Which is the reason that we educate. Is that hopefully someone may learn something. Our way is not the right way. It's not the correct way. It's just one way.
It's just one way.
It's just one way. And hopefully if you take a little bit of knowledge away from my presentation, I've done my job as an educator.
That's all.
That's all I want. And hopefully I will learn something back from you. I mean, part of what I do when I present, and I don't know if you do, but it's a power exchange for me presenting. I get something back from the audience. I've learned all kinds of stuff from people who've been in my class. Even if I've made a mistake. And I'm the kind of person who hopefully if you tell me I make a mistake in my class, I'm going to remember it and say, okay, I got to correct that.
Yes.
So what intrigues you about our leather community? What feeds your soul in being part of it? Because it is so different from Domcon.
The
and
protocol.
Being professional. There we go.
The protocol.
Gotta love our protocol.
The protocol. And for me, it's not like this ookie dookie secret society. I mean,
we have a handshake, don't you know?
Yeah.
According to Hardy Harderman, we have a handshake.
We have a handshake, but it's just that that I can walk into a leather bar anywhere in the country, and there's certain protocol that I might be privy to that I feel safe, that I'm privy to, that somebody will notice my protocol and know, like, oh, she's vetted, she knows what she's doing. Or if I do something and I don't know what I'm doing, who my mentors are. You will get in contact with somebody, and I will get a phone call.
You're going to get slapped at a phone call.
What are you
doing?
Yeah, and I think that's you shouldn't be too humble to get that bitch slap in a phone call.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
and I find a lot of younger doms just, they don't have that. They just don't have that level of just being a little bit more humble and open and receptive.
Humility makes a dom, in my opinion, if you're willing to admit your mistakes.
Yes, exactly.
No, I fuck up all the time.
I fuck up. I'm human. We all
I'm
fuck
human.
up. Yes.
Exactly. Let's touch a little bit on that topic. Do you find there's a big difference between us as professional dominatrix and the protocol we have established and the lifestyle dominatrix and our leather women and the protocol kind of clashing? Because sometimes I've had some issues where, as a leather woman, I expect a submissive to behave a certain way because I am high protocol, yet in the pro-dom world, that's not there. So have you had that experience, and how do you feel?
I have had that experience. And for me, I think it's kind of like assessing when somebody contacts me, are they looking for just a session? Or have they been looking and following me for a long time? And so they're looking to do something more ongoing with me more than 1 or 2 times. If that answer is yes, then I don't really start it off with you're coming to me for a session and I'm going to give you everything you want. You come to me and this is slave training. You want to see me more than once. Well, this is what I expect. And if you don't like it the first time, I guess then that's just your only session.
Right.
Domina Devlin DeSaw does the same thing. When I spend time with her, she's like, I don't just do sessions, I do slave training and reprogramming.
Exactly.
So so that's a little bit of the difference. And because I've been doing it for a while, my bullshit tolerance has gotten really short.
Honey, mine's like right here. Negative.
Yeah, mine's like negative 150 something. It's like so tiny.
Right. Maya and I were talking about that earlier, and she's like, I have no tolerance for this bullshit anymore. And I'm like, I'm right there with you.
And I just don't. And it's easy. I'm like, deposit, work verification, name verification. If you can't do that, I'm so sorry. Because I'm old school. When I started, you gave me all that. You even mailed me to my P.O. box. You sent me a self-addressed stamped envelope. You might have even included a picture or a gift certificate. Exactly. And you're going to wait until I either email you back or call you in your phone number.
Exactly.
And they just don't do that. This whole instant gratification. So I'm really blessed in my life to be where I don't necessarily have to deal with that anymore. So.
And I'm blessed as well. I have some wonderful submissives in my stable, some wonderful slaves, a good partner. So I'm lucky enough that I don't have to deal with that anymore. But when I started, there was no internet. Shh, don't. So we did everything by the post office box and the that telephone that sat on your table and you actually picked it up and answered it. Yeah, so I do find that it's different now. How do you deal? Because I know how I deal, but how do you deal with the social media blitz?
Oh God.
I'm sorry.
I'm a slave to my social media. God, I'm a slave to my Google Calendar. I'm a slave to notifications. Jeez. What was your question again on that?
How do you feel about the social media effect on our profession? Like texts at 3 a.m.
Totally
with a
inappropriate.
Dick picture, or can I suck your toes? Because I know you get them.
I get them.
Because I get them.
Well, I think I hate to... the internet, yes. I think there's some internets, like the directories, are good. Some websites, like Backpage, Craigslist, that sort of thing. Everyone's using them, and I don't find that they're not... Because there's no standard set. So the 3 a.m. phone call, someone thinks is totally appropriate because he called somebody at 3 a.m. and got a conversation. So therefore, that level of standard has been set that it is okay for me to call any woman at 3 o'clock demanding to see her right now. Mm-hmm. So, and no, it doesn't matter if I read it because I don't. So for me, I think that I'm happy to see it when those go away, if that ever is going to happen.
It's ever going to go away.
But the more social media, like the Instagrams and all that, I find that it's good to stay connected to your followers, but I also find that it's sensationalized what we do, and it's not as discreet. Why does somebody need to come worship my boots? Or even take me boot shopping, worship my boots, become my boot slave, if they can just click on my picture every 5 minutes and get the same boots every 5 minutes. And that, in my opinion, is extremely disrespectful. If if I have someone that's been following me, for you to just lurky in the web and hit me up on every social media platform is disrespectful. If you were if you liked me or if you honored anything about me, do not do that, because now I think you're an asshole and I'm not going to text you and I'm going to blacklist you, and then you will never get my attention.
I so love you. I think you touched on a very important word there, and I think it's honor.
Yes.
And that's something that I find lacking in a lot of current veins within our community and professional dominatrix. You know, when I was raised in Chicago by the gay Leathermen, you know, honor and respect were the two tenets of what I learned. You honor and respect. And I think that a lot of the submissives who approach us as pro-doms now have they're not familiar with that. They don't know those tenets of honor and respect, because it's something that is, you know, they can talk to somebody at 3 a.m. and get a boot shot for, you know, $50. So I think it's cheapened our profession. So let's talk a little bit about some of your favorite fetishes. And what is one of your favorite? You said corporal punishment earlier.
Corporal punishment is.
So if someone comes to see you as the Caribbean Dominatrix, but I believe that's your website, is...
well, that was defunct.
Okay. So tell everybody your website.
Well, you can Google Goddess Sadie and it'll take you everywhere I am. But it's Sensuous Sovereignties. It's been Sensuous Sovereignties. No, it's not fancy. It's my website that I've had since 2002, 2003. But it's you can't spell sensuous and sovereignties. But my favorite fetishes personally, I'm a power exchange player. I'm an energy exchange player. So I can't say I enjoy whipping and I come see someone who is just wanting to worship my boots. So there has to be an energy exchange. So because I play with so many fetishes, it really depends on what their fetish is and the energy that I get back from them. I enjoy foot worship, boot worship, feet, everything is my thing. So, but if someone isn't into feet, then I don't really want them worshiping my feet. So therefore, it's not my favorite with you.
Right.
But it's my favorite with a foot freak who gets
off on your feet.
Yeah, who gets off on my feet. Therefore, I get off on my feet.
Are there fetishes you don't do? Fetishes you don't enjoy?
No. I don't do as much role play as I used to.
I am not a role play dom.
When I first started, it was like, yes, I'll be your naughty nurse. Yes, I'll be the governess, or I'll be the next door neighbor who catches you sniffing panties, blah, blah, blah. I don't do roles anymore. I'm too old for that.
I'm too old for that shit.
You know who I am, so you know what I'm about. I've been around forever. If you come to see me, you're coming to see Goddess Sadie because you know who I am and you know how I roll.
Right. And that's something that you and I have in common, besides a lot of other stuff.
Right.
I'm not good at role play.
So that's the thing I really don't do. It's on my website. I still do it, but I don't.
The only role play that I really enjoy still is the governess one.
Yes.
I do love, because I'm corporal, like you.
Yes.
I love paddling and caning. So.
Yes.
Yes. And I can see you as a mean teacher.
I do that. I do the mean teacher. I do the governess. I do the disciplinarian and all that. But, you know, it has to match. So when people contact me and like, can I see you today? What's your fetish? Because I don't see everyone that calls me. If you're into, sniffing gym socks, well, I don't have any gym socks, so I'm not going to see you, and that's not my jam. You can sniff my pantyhose.
There you go.
Because I like pantyhose, and I'm a pantyhose fetishist. So, yeah, it's we have to have mutual fetishes in common.
Now, what if someone, because this is something that I think surprises a lot of professional clients, what do you do when someone calls you and you don't feel that they're a good match for you? What is your next step? Do you just say, hi, bye, click?
No, I usually, I travel across the country, and my biggest thing as a professional dominant is networking and supporting other pro-doms, because when we work together, you make money, I make money, we make money, we both make money, we're happy.
Exactly.
And we get to have fun because we're doing what we like. So, because I travel, if somebody contacts me and it's something that I'm not into, I typically tell them that I have a colleague, or I have a few colleagues that share that interest. Let me talk to her and tell her a little bit about you and give me a few days or a few weeks or whatever, and let me check in with them, and if they're interested, is it okay if I give her your contact information?
And I think that's the way it should be.
And I don't tell them any names.
Right.
I don't tell them who they are. I contact the mistress.
Because she could be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. And that's typically how I handle that.
And I think that's the perfect way. Do you find that that's lacking a little bit in our industry?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Oh.
I baited you with that one.
Yeah, you did. Yes, it's lacking.
So, and I also find that sometimes, and I've encountered this, the submissives try to play us against each other, not realizing that we do talk and we do like each other, or...
Most of us like each other.
Right. Okay, I had to clarify there. Okay, most of us like each other. But so do you find that in our industry there's a lack of sisterhood that you do experience maybe in Pearl or with
I wouldn't say for me I wouldn't say necessarily in Pearls. I think the challenge that I see in that is that it's too many dominant women, too many A types, and too small of a space. Mm-hmm. And I've said this in a previous interview, doms who aren't really they don't have anybody to humble them. Like, they're the dom of the grand doms of the grand doms, and we're colleagues. You know, we're all respected and esteemed in our own special way. We're all very unique, like a fingerprint, like a snowflake. So there's no you are better than me type of thought process. So I don't think I got off on a tangent what the question was, but I try not to be a Debbie Downer. I try not to really focus on like what challenges. I'm more of a fixer, which is how I end up being a workaholic, because I like to fix them. I don't like to bitch and complain about a problem. I like to
want to fix the problem.
I want to fix the problem. Okay. So I think sisterhood is there when you have it to support. You know, like it's where you foster that environment for sisterhood. Okay. You know,
it has to be fostered.
So yeah, if I can foster that, and there's women across the country who do, like you. I'll say that. When I was in Chicago, I loved that she was like, "Oh, you're so open and your dungeon's so great, and you're not here, but like thank you for your hospitality." So but that's my point. It's like thank you for your hospitality, because even though that was was a visit but the Mikasa Sukasa isn't really necessarily around like it used to be.
No, it's not.
So for me, I would like to see that change. And I think when we truly understand that if I have a client, whether he's a client on a budget, or if I have a very affluent client, that if this is somebody that I'm literally handing to you on a silver platter, that you take care of them just like I take care of them, because this is a business.
Exactly.
You don't need to try to steal him from me.
Right.
You can.
I think that's an awful practice, by the way.
But people do it.
I know.
And
but we didn't used to do that.
Yeah, I don't do that, and I make it a point to call other women and other pronoms out on their shit if they do still, because it's not they're not your slave.
Right.
They're your client, and just like I go to Baskin Robbins every Saturday, I don't want the same chocolate ice cream. I might want rainbow sherbet with vanilla sprinkles today.
Right. Or I may go to Cold Stone Creamery the next day.
Right.
Right. I don't buy my shoes all from the same store, and sometimes variety is a spice, and sometimes submissives enjoy that variety, and. Okay, or they'll have 6 sessions with you and find that maybe you're not such a good match. And they'll go to one of your girlfriends, one of your fellow ladies. Okay, my only thing is I don't like you. I don't like the client stealing, because you're not really stealing a client. They can go wherever they want. They have free will. They're not my collared sissy.
Right.
Like if my collared sissy decided to go and see somebody without my permission.
Oh yeah. I don't think that would ever happen though. Yeah. But just saying,
we're gonna have some issues because.
Yeah.
Personal as opposed to professional.
Exactly.
A professional client can do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So let's steer away from professional and go into your leather lifestyle. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey and where you want to go with that? You said education.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess I'd be. I guess I probably want to touch on my family. So right now, my leather family consists of a 24-hour, 24/7, 24-hour 24/7. When I say
24 Domcon weekend,
right?
Honey, it's okay.
Well, no, 24/7 for me is just all the time. Our protocol is that's my submissive or my slave. I mentor 2 people. I have a baby girl, and then I have a collared slave that I've had for about 12 years.
Wonderful.
So, and everyone, for me, collared is how committed are you at that level? If you're 75 and you live 5 hours from me, you're only committed at a certain level.
Correct.
But you're still committed and you still are owned by me. So for me, I see, I'm getting older, so I need a stable of slaves to take care of me.
Take care of us.
Because,
exactly.
like my mother keeps reminding me, I don't have a good Social Security pension.
No, we don't. No, a 25-year career, and I have nothing in Social Security.
Right. So for me, I'm at a point in my career where I'm fostering relationships. Right. And if you're here to serve me, you're here to serve me ongoing. And what I do is work, but it's my life, and it's what brings me joy. And you need to be able to be as serious about it and committed about it as I am. Right. And you need to be able to communicate that. I call it my 3 C's: communicate, consistency, and consideration. Like, what would Jesus do? What would Goddess Sadie want me to do in this situation?
It's the 3 C's of Goddess Sadie.
It's the 3 C's.
I like that. That's why I may steal that.
Go ahead. It's not mine. It's just my 3 C's.
I like your 3 C's.
So yeah, I think for me, I really want to teach more. I've been debating for years about running for a leather title, which
That's what I wanted to get to.
I want to talk to you a little bit about, either off camera or on.
Off to start.
Right. So I see part of that, and just being able to travel. I'd like to do some overseas and international travel. I've been traveling throughout America for a decade. I'm an ex-Army brat, so I've lived out of the country, so I kind of would like to do that as an adult. Yes.
It's interesting traveling overseas and educating overseas. It's a wonderful experience because their communities are so diverse from ours. They don't have some of the same protocol that we do.
Yes, I want to see that. I want to see that.
It's really neat. I had a great time teaching in Rome. It was wonderful. But we're not here about me.
We kind of sort of are here about you.
Well, okay, fine. But, sharing here. Can you kind of expand on why you want to run for a leather title? I'm going to bring it back in.
Yeah. So why I want to run is I've had a couple of people within the leather community come to me over the past decade and suggest that I should. And I was like, I have people that run. I see the politics, all that. But for me, how my leather family, how my household looks, what it looks like from an outside, how it's structured, its protocol, how it's run, I feel like that's an example. I'm not saying that mine is the perfect example,
of course,
but I feel like I've been doing this long enough. I can kind of toot my own horn. It works, or I wouldn't have been doing it this long because I would have never thought I would be doing it this long. But because it works, so for me, part of my give back is I want people to see like relationships like this do exist.
Right.
You can live out loud like this. Mm-hmm. This is what works. This is what works for me. This is what's working for me, and I am freaking happy. My life, I'm a spoiled princess, pampered poodle. One of my friends calls me
queen.
Queen, goddess, pampered poodle,
right.
and it's a life of comfort, and so I want to be able to share that, and not just my life, but what that looks like. When I get to spend time with my baby girl, and she gets to be in little space, and she gets the freedom to wet her diapers, or me read her story time books, or us go to the park and have sidewalk chalk time and all of that thing, or go shopping at Build-A-Bear. She may not be able to do those things 11 months out of the year, but the 2 weeks that she's with me, she gets to do all those things, right, which feeds her spirit. Mm-hmm. And because I am a mother, naturally, my maternal instinct, it feeds my spirit. Mm-hmm. So,
what would holding a title mean to you?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I think another reason I do this...
My gay boys would tell you all the time, she's going to set your ass up.
I see! I'm like, oh my God, now I'm like, what was that question? Because that was a heavy loader.
What would having a title mean to you?
Having a title would mean
I'm prepping you for your interview, baby.
I see.
We're going.
What it would mean, it gives me more exposure to be able to speak on the platforms that are important to me. I'm a sexual wellness ambassador. I got my certification through ASU a few years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm big on sexual wellness and sexual health, in particular HIV and AIDS awareness. And for me, being able to have a platform to speak on. And then two, I'm an overachiever a little bit. So I've been doing it as long as I have. So for me, I'm at a point, so my largest recognition for me, and me and some people this weekend talked about it, is being able to be recognized for my hard work and dedication by my peers.
Okay.
And by my community. And that my community sees that the walk that I walk and the life that I live and the talk that I talk and my reality about what my normal looks like is really okay. And that for me is very affirming.
That's a good reason to go for a title.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's take a little bit of a step back a little bit with that. And so being in the leather community, and I'm going to have you answer this question because I've already answered this question thousands of times. Have you come across any bias being a professional dominatrix?
Oh!
I'm loading you up here, honey.
Yeah, I see that. Whoa.
And how do you feel about that? This is a feel question, not how do you handle it, but how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel... It's kind of disheartening. It's
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, because it's a touchy subject. Because this is the way that I feel. I get in the community, and I'll say leather community, kink community, fetish community. I feel like I have honed in on my skills, not because I'm narcissistic, not because I beat men for a living, but I have invested in taking the time out to learning and perfecting and mastering my craft by some of the best people in the world. As opposed to a lifestyler is like, oh, this looks cool, let me buy it and try it on whoever.
Yep.
So I feel like the community looks at, and I'm proud to be a sex worker. I know that's debatable for a lot of people, but I feel like professional domination is sex work.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes the community can be like, oh, well, she just capitalizes on what we do for fun. Like, why should she make money off of what we do for fun? So therefore, I feel like I'm not taken as serious. Nor am I not as respected, which I feel like it should be the exact opposite.
It should be the exact opposite.
Which is why I love Domcon, because these are professional dominas who are good at what we do. We are here to learn from each other. We are here to support one another. And we are here to pass the torch on.
Correct.
And the community doesn't necessarily do that.
But isn't that what our community should be about? Not to
interrupt
you, but isn't that what our community should be about?
That. Yes.
No, passing the torch on.
Passing the torch on.
Do you find, because I will admit that I have discovered this, that I find the prejudice different in certain aspects of our community. Like within the gay leather community, the fact that I'm a pro-dom, cool. No problem. The kinksters and the more fetishists, they seem to have a little bit more bias towards it.
Yeah.
So I have noticed the difference of acceptance level within the factions of our community. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail for saying that on a podcast. I don't care!
Well, you know what? This is a totally off subject, but one thing one of my mentors told me, Mistress Anthony's from New York, and she said, darling, that comes with celebrity skin. If you're not getting hate mail, then that means you're not doing something right.
Bring it on, people. Bring it on. So let's go have some fun questions.
Yay!
I would love to interview you again because there's so much knowledge and so much
I talk too much.
I like the fact that you talk too much. That gives them a chance to know you. But I want to wrap this one up with just some fun questions.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give you some rapid fire.
Ooh,
I know.
I'm ready.
You got it. That short answers, like one-word answers.
Okay.
Okay. What is your favorite cuss word?
Cunt.
Okay. What is your favorite toy?
My bullwhips and single tails.
Oh, that's too many words, but okay. What is your least favorite type of submissive?
Topping from the bottom.
Okay. What if you could do anything else for a living? What would you do?
Whoa.
I didn't say they were all going to be easy.
Wow, what was that? If I could do anything else, I can't imagine doing anything else at this point.
Okay, so we'll go with that.
Raise children and live in a village.
There we go. Okay. All right.
Teach young girls how to be powerful.
Would you end up, and this is a longer answer, would you please end up with telling my listeners how they may contact you if they want to see you for a session or ask you any questions? Would you please provide your information?
Sure.
Social media and website.
Yes, so my website, like I said, is www.sensuoussovereignties.com, and if you can't spell that, either look it up in the dictionary or Google Goddess Sadie. I have a contact form there. I will say that emails I tend to get overloaded with, so expect 72 hours to 30 days for me to get back to you. I am old school, so telephone is the same way. My telephone number, that does not mean call me at 3 a.m., and that's pretty public. I won't leave it on this podcast. But that's public, so a respectable phone call. I don't answer calls ever from a blocked number. And then if you do send an email, always include your name, your occupation, your fetishes, and what city you're in, because I travel probably to maybe 40 different cities throughout the country.
You travel a lot more than I do, girl.
And just Google,
No way.
Google Goddess Sadie, and that's the easiest.
Perfect. I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to me during Domcon. I know
thank
we're
you.
busy.
No, we're not. I'm not too busy for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I admire you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, and I've had a great time talking to you, and I hope we can do it again.
Yes, I'm looking forward.
So thank you.